The purpose of this session is to talk about centers of excellence. And so what we have here are a panelist of 3 of our best centers of excellence, and these are the executive sponsors of those centers of excellence. So the purpose of this session is to help give you a sense of how some centers of excellence look in real life. What are the business values that they're seeing? How did they kind of get where they got? And generally see where are they going next with their CoE. And I'll start with a few, maybe 1 or 2 important statistics about Anaplan customer centers of excellence. So first, there are currently today 93 customers with centers of excellence. That represents just 8% of Anaplan customers. So the reason I share that statistic, I think it's very important that we have a solid core, almost 100 customers today with centers of excellence. And that's important. That's a significant number of Anaplan customers. However, still a very small percentage. So when I think about everybody who's trying to create new centers of excellence, I think this is a very exciting time. It's an exciting time that you have both a solid foundation of many customers who have walked down the same path you are walking down, and many people who have experienced lots of things, potentially some mistakes to learn from along the way. So a solid group, yet you are still in the leading edge of customers creating centers of excellence. You are still in the cutting edge. So you can still kind of create your own path and be part of that group leading the wave of creating an Anaplan center of excellence. I think it's an exciting time. I'm glad that you're here, so thank you for joining us. And I'll share one more quote from another one of our very successful CoEs, Groupon. And Megan's approach here, so Megan or Groupon, if you're in the room, thank you very much. The approach here is Anaplan as a business-led platform is most successful when you have people in the business driving change on the people side in addition to the technology side. I think you heard yesterday and today, we've taken the technology problem off the table. We're not worried about the technology as much anymore. Now we need to have the transformational change, the connected people side change to break down silos, break down barriers, and ensure solid governance of how you're using Anaplan in order to have a successful implementation of Anaplan across your business. So I'll stop talking with that. And I will introduce our 3 wonderful panelists. Oh, one more thing. So why are we here? When we talk about a center of excellence, we're talking about driving connected planning. You've seen this honeycomb a lot. The reason that you need to build an Anaplan center of excellence is to enable connected planning. That's the primary function. Now I'll introduce our panelists. Maybe. Great. So we have on the stage with us, immediately to my left, Shay Cabal-Revilla. Hi. Shay is the CFO at PLDT, has also won Innovation Award last year in our APAC region and runs an excellent center of excellence. Next we have Maria Milazzo, the AVP of Capital Planning and Analysis from Unum. Maria is also the supervisor, oversees Brittany Deaton, who is our Master Anaplanner of the Year. So another plug for Brittany, who's in the room, if you want to wave your hand or not. There you go. Congratulations again, Brittany. And then all the way to my left, we have Brian Sato, Senior Director of Corporate Finance from DaVita Kidney Care. So I'll kind of pass it over to our panelists to tell us more about their CoEs. And I'll kind of start with you, Shay. If you can, we'll kind of go down the line. And if you can give us a sense of your center of excellence, what does it look like in your organization? And what's your introduction to your CoE?
So we actually started using Anaplan in 2016. We used to do planning, like everybody does manually. So Excel, et cetera, and then we sort of consolidate everything. But when we started using Anaplan, we had efficiencies, not just on cost, process, time, but also on people. We used to have like 26 people dedicated to do the consolidation. But right now, using Anaplan, we have about 4 to 5 in our CoE for the group financial planning. But we do have reps in certain business areas that also use Anaplan. So we've pretty much, we really love Anaplan, by the way. So apart from the cost efficiencies, we actually have empowered the rest of the businesses to do planning. And it has actually enabled our business to be able to decide pretty much very quickly and get the numbers on a real-time basis versus putting everything together manually, as I said earlier. And it has also lessened our dependency on IT. When we were doing our planning before, and pretty much most of our IT systems that we use, we really depend on IT, right? But right now, the empowerment has been given to the business, so we're very, very, very happy with that.
Thank you, Shay. Maria, would you like to tell us about your CoE?
Yes. So currently, this is our third year on Anaplan, and we didn't start our journey with establishing Center of Excellence right away, and I think it's a common story for most of the people here. We've been talking last few days with a lot of people from the industry, and there's a certain maturity phase where it feels like that Anaplan Center of Excellence might make a sense. So currently, we do have a Center of Excellence established at about 8 or 9 months ago. We have 3 full-time people on the team, and then we have part-time interns / part-time people from 1 to 4, kind of depending on intensity, depending on what we're building at the time. And then we have several model builders that are not on the Center of Excellence team, but they're directly responsible for building and maintaining their own model. So they're more within the business. So if you think about, we talk a lot about centralized versus federalized model. We're kind of in the middle of that. So we, our Center of Excellence team does not necessarily does 100% of the model building. They're there to support, to enforce government standards, to talk about, the quality of the model.
Great, thank you, Maria. Brian?
Yeah, so our CoE today has 5 people running the model building team. We have 2 people on our data integration team. And part of our unique story is that we've currently got, Rachel told me, we have roughly 100 models that are active today. And we've got about 5,000 users of the platform. So we've got a pretty big base. And so there's a lot of sort of need when you're talking about that number of models and that number of users for us to maintain a fair amount of quality control around what's out there for that number of users. And similar to what Maria was mentioning, there's about 30 people within our organization outside of the CoE that have built models. And so the way that we talk about it is anything that's more complex, the CoE will actually handle. And stuff that's a little bit less complex that we trust the business partners to be able to have analysts on their team that can build those models, can build, but with our direct oversight, with our governance, and making sure that they're going through standardized peer reviews with our CoE just to make sure that the quality of the models remains at a high level of standard.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. I think that what you're kind of seeing here, there's 3 very different structures to what a CoE could look like, all very successful models. And if we're looking at different governance structures, whether it's completely federated to the business, there's a mix or more centralized, maybe in Unum's case, but then Brian's case, you kind of empowering the business to build their own models to be as self-sufficient as they can. There's no right or wrong answer to what these models should look like. And that's why, people often ask me, I'm trying to build a CoE, what should it look like? And of course, it's always 1,000 more questions before I can say, here's what your CoE might look like. But there's no right answer on what your CoE should look like. So Maria, I'd like to ask you a specific question around, we've talked about what are the benefits of building a CoE. Now, Unum's been using Anaplan for quite a while, 9-month CoE, but generally you've been supporting Anaplan for a while. What are some of the benefits that you're seeing maybe in terms of driving business change or things that you're seeing from the business as a result of your CoE?
So I think 2 kind of main buckets of benefits. One is that definitely having that centralized place where people spend time thinking and thinking very hard about the quality of the models, about the governance standards. So if you don't have anybody who has that as a full-time job, right, to constantly make sure that you have the models that are already in production. So once we reach the scale of about 5 models, we realize that there should be conscious effort continuously to either improve those models, take them to direction, and there's also an effort of figuring out where you're going next. So you need those people to make sure that you're moving somewhere strategically and not just randomly, like plopping, and adding models to your already existing model bucket. And then the second piece that was pretty big for us, I think, realizing that we talk a lot about talent management and making sure that you have people and you train people, but how do you do that if you don't have a defined role or defined kind of position within the company that you can actually do some of the succession planning, you can do some training, you can incentivize people to stay and enroll and continue developing that.
Yeah, it's almost like you've made the business smarter through the work that you're doing.
That's right. Yeah.
That's a pretty good benefit, I'd say.
It's a choice, right? You can choose to take those benefits and just cost savings and declare a victory, and that's one option. We went the other way. We took those money and those savings and we invested them into analytics and establishing Center of Excellence, right? Adding the headcount. And last point, I think a lot of people ask me the last few days about how do you sell that to the management? Because sometimes it is addition, right, to the headcount. So how do you go about it? Hey, now I want to do all this Anaplanning and I need 5 more people because I want to have a Center of Excellence. So how do you do that? And my thinking here is that you start by having those quick wins. So you build your model, you demonstrate the business case, right? You have those savings, and then you can decide and say, hey, now I can deploy that. So that's kind of a way how it worked out for us naturally. It wasn't an intention from the beginning, but mathematically and financially, that's how it worked out for Unum.
Yeah, that's great. So along those lines, I think that empowering the business is definitely a critical role of a CoE. So Shay, I'm going to ask you a question around your growth. Anaplan as a business-led tool is a critical way of using Anaplan, and the role of the CoE is enabling that kind of connected planning, cross-functional, breaking down silos, connected planning. So maybe can you tell us a little bit about your cross-functional connected planning journey and maybe the role that the business has had in that journey?
Right. So for finance in particular, Anaplan has actually helped us evolve from just doing the transactional, putting together the numbers into more analytical things, as what Maria said earlier. And also that our value as finance was really to be a business partner to the rest of the business groups and doing value creation. Because before, when we were just we're a huge group, 106 entities, and imagine how you put together the financial planning, right? So it was really a nightmare. But with Anaplan, it sort of empowered us and empowered the business. So we actually have leveled up our role in finance, and it also was corollary to our strategy because PLDT and Smart were actually the leading telecommunications company in the Philippines. And if you look at the Philippine archipelago here, we're like 7,000 islands, right? Before, we used to do a lot of strategy from Manila, which is the headquarters. But with Anaplan and our sales planning thing, we were able to do localized and regional marketing, which sort of helped the business. So in that area, we were able to customize also our products and services, not just have a one service type of product for everyone, one-stop shop. So right now we're able to do that with Anaplan. So it really, really helped us.
Yeah, and when it comes to up-leveling the business, I know part of that was what would you say your level of dependence on IT was throughout this process?
Oh, we would just wait for IT to sort of do things for us. And, in the grand scheme of things, right, if there were some things that need to be done from a system or technical standpoint, they'd normally do that fix first before they do some business requirements. So right now, it doesn't mean that IT is less important, but they can focus on other things versus just being nannies or babysitters for the business.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. And I'm sure there are a lot of IT people in the room. We don't see IT as a bad influence or a bad group, of course. What's really important with an Anaplan CoE is that if you are involving IT, that they are very close business partners through that process. So the most successful CoEs, Anaplan CoEs that we see, are the ones that are as close to the business, maybe physically, maybe organizationally, politically, as possible, which means it could be an IT-led initiative as long as it's very closely tied to the business. I like how you put it of freeing up IT to focus on what IT wants to do. So along those same lines, Brian, I have a question for you around, you mentioned that a lot of the model building or smaller, less complex model building that's happening at DaVita is happening. You're empowering the business to kind of take that on their own as long as they're following a set of governance principles or best practices that you're providing. How would you say that you're finding, training, hiring, enabling those people in the business to be Anaplan skilled resources? It's one of the hot topics, obviously, right now is if you've got all these people out in the business, where did they come from? How did they learn Anaplan?
Luckily, somebody asked me this question at lunch, so I've gotten to practice it once. For a little bit of context, I think it's important to bring up. So about a year ago, I mentioned we have 5 model builders on our team today. About a year ago, we lost 3 model builders in, I don't know, a 2 or 3 month period, all to consulting firms who are well represented in this conference today. Deloitte, 12, Akili, to call a few out. No. And we're happy to sort of, I actually think it was helpful in our sort of journey to think about the CoE, because one of the things that we hadn't spent a lot of time on, right? Imagine we were in a world where we were just churning out models. We were trying to get everything out of Excel. We put a lot of energy into this. What we hadn't thought too much about was the development of our own team, and that was a big miss for us. And so it caused our leadership team within the CoE to take a look at ourselves and what we're doing for the people that are a part of the CoE. And so we said, so who are the types of people that we want to attract to our CoE? And we've sort of shifted. And I think, 2, 3, 4 of our most recent hires are fresh out of college. And we feel like our CoE is a good landing spot for us to teach somebody a skill that's going to be valuable for them as they go throughout their career. And I think the other thing that we really had to stare at ourselves was what kind of development opportunities are we actually offering people that are a part of our CoE? And I think one of the add-on benefits of a CoE that we don't talk about too often is the exposure that you get to the rest of the enterprise. And so I know not all companies are created equal, and not all companies are the same size, but in an organization like DaVita, where we've got 50,000 teammates and we've got, I don't even know how many corporate functions, that's who our Anaplan model builders interact with on a day-to-day basis. And so we love losing our model builders to other parts of the organization, and that's hard to do as a leader, right? To take that long-term view, to say they're going to go add value to some other piece of the organization. We just lost a model builder a month ago who's going to go work within clinical enterprise, and we've got high confidence that he's going to be great at that. And so we can feel like, okay, it's tough to lose Kyle, and we got to fill that gap, but we know that he's going to continue to add value within the other pieces of the organization. And the other added benefit is he becomes one of the 30 people that are out there within the business units that actually can now build models that our team doesn't have to always take on, and we can continue to take on some of the more complex stuff. And so I know it's a tough sort of view to take in the short term, but there are long-term benefits of hiring young people into these roles and then figuring out how to export them within your own organization. And I think that we've had pretty good success. I don't think we've lost anyone in the last year externally. Everyone has stayed within the organization internally, and we definitely consider that a win.
I'd like to add to what Brian just said. The good thing about Anaplan, it doesn't really need an IT background to be successful in doing it, in building the models. It sort of just needs an intuitive mind or a business mindset to do it. So you can get fresh graduates, right? So, which is good.
Yeah, and I like that way of looking at it, where you're losing them, but you're both adding value to DaVita, to your company, regardless of what they do with Anaplan or without Anaplan. You're adding value to your company. And you're kind of the feeder program. We know that Anaplan is a very in-demand skill right now, so people are going to shuffle more rapidly than traditional career paths might have typically, allowed in the past. So they're going to shuffle rapidly. You've kind of found a way that lets them shuffle in a good way and stay within your company and kind of continue to add value for what you're doing. So I think that's really exciting about what you're doing there. So with a few minutes left, I think I'd like to ask each of you, and Brian, I'll start with you this time. I'd like to ask each of you, so what's next for your Anaplan CoE or your Anaplan footprint as a whole?
That's a good question. So I think for our CoE, one of the other things that we're trying to figure out is how to stretch them or develop them with more analytic projects. And so one of the things that we're working on today, our favorite model at DaVita is the labor suite. I'll try to keep it short, but it's a monster, and it's actually 3 different models depending on which geography you're at in the country. But we're taking payroll data at 4-minute increments and loading it into the model and looking at when patients are treating on the floor and how many nurses and how many techs are on there. And it's literally like the way we manage labor at DaVita. It's not a reporting tool. It is supposed to be and is intended to be action driven. And we have I think our usage data shows that 83% of our facility administrators or managers of facilities are using the tool. One of the things that we've asked our model builder or analyst who runs that model is to start looking at trends like where are there people who aren't using the tool and where are the same people that are also missing labor, because our COO is really big on, if you can manage labor without the tool, I'll leave you alone. But if you're missing labor and you're not using the tool, then you're in pretty big trouble and I want to talk to you about it, right? And so that's not us being big brother, that's us like helping leadership figure out where there's gaps. And so do we need to add additional training? So that's one thing. I think the other thing that we're doing that I'd add is we've also figured out that our CoE is not the best team to be training the end users on how to use the tools, but our CoE is the best team to facilitate training sessions. And so one of our model builders as a side project partners with our operational finance managers out in the field, and they're running a weekly training session for end users on how to use some of the financial models that we've built for them. And so we're also turning our CoE into like a training CoE, and we're trying to figure out how to grow that outside of just finance, because I think there's clinical applications for us, there's human resource applications that we haven't tapped into. And so I do see a world over time where the Anaplan CoE also becomes a systems-like training CoE.
Thanks, Brian. Yeah, very exciting. Maria, where are you off to next?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we're relatively new in terms of CoE presence. I've spent the last several months trying to figure out who we are as a team, right? What is our vision and mission? What is our place at the table, right? When we build models, when we talk to our partners. So that was kind of the fundamental foundational part. I think for next, I'm just really looking forward to continue elevate the quality of our models. So rebuilding is painful, trying to to minimize it as much as we can. I think CoE will be definitely involved in our new user experience. So that's one of the things that we're actually taking a step back and thinking, oh, we have models and now we have this new experience. How are we going to implement it for our existing models? What are we going to do for new models? So I think that will be really exciting actually to see what it's going to look like in the next few months. And then thinking about kind of the size of the team, we actually make a conscious decision to keep it lean and mean, right? So huge amount of expertise, continue getting master Anaplanners. Stacy got her master Anaplanner this time. So we continue to elevate the expertise of the team. So when they're at the table with the partners and other model builders, we feel good about the expertise that we bring.
I mean, that's a great point. You have 3 master Anaplanners on your CoE, so.
And I'm not one of them.
So. Maybe not yet. And Shay, I know you've got a lot of exciting stuff.
So for us, our plan is actually to expand the benefits of Anaplan throughout the organization. As I mentioned earlier, we already talked about sales and marketing. The second thing that we want to do is to integrate Anaplan or its benefits into our network/technology, because we were just talking about location-based planning where, for example, in Manila, traffic is really a way of life, right? So we wanted to integrate how we can ease out congestion and signaling and the use of our QoS of our signaling, such that we were able to move our mobile signal platforms, for example, in certain areas that are traffic, because a lot of people would be just sitting in their cars and doing data, etc. Right? So that's what we want to sort of build it up with our planning, building, and operations network and technology. And the other thing that's huge right now that we're actually working on is on our sustainability reporting initiatives. So we were also thinking about incorporating Anaplan into our, say, planning for lesser emissions, lesser usage of water, etc. So that's where we are at.
Great, thank you. I think I'm hearing a lot more around making business smarter, doing things better, faster, and I think that kind of adding more value around intelligence and operating your business is a critical success factor for everybody. So for everybody here, we hope that first, you also want to make your business smarter, so pledge to create your CoE. We recommend you visit our new section of the Anaplan community dedicated to building your own Anaplan Center of Excellence. So that's launched 10 knowledge articles. We have some contributions in the discussion board from people on this stage. So thank you for your contributions already. And then start your conversations with your Anaplan partners. Your customer success business partner will connect you with me or anybody else within Anaplan or with anybody here on this stage in order to set up a conversation on how we can tailor this for your business. And I think that's all that we have. So thank you very much to our panelists, and thank you very much for everybody who was able to come today.